Good morning, and welcome to our second day of this first conference on bilingual education. We welcome all the people joining us from Argentina, Brazil, Chile, and other countries. My name is Marisol Besa, and I am an English teacher and coordinator at the Faculty of Education at Universidad del Desarrollo. The goal of this conference is to bring together leading academics, researchers, school administrators, and teachers to exchange their experiences and results on all aspects of bilingual education in Latin American and other contexts. The event will provide a premier interdisciplinary platform for researchers, practitioners, and educators to present and discuss the most recent innovations, trends, and concerns, as well as practical challenges encountered and solutions adopted in the fields of bilingual education. What made us to decide to join this event is our faculty's commitment to prepare young people to become global citizens through educational experiences in international contexts and collaboration with international institutions for our graduates and postgraduates, academics, and students. We think our students need to have a global perspective that allows them to face the challenges to design innovative solutions, contribute with their knowledge in their educational contexts, and become members of global learning communities. In this century, where world mobility and international communication are common activities somehow interrupted by the pandemic, the term globalization is and will still be relevant. As one of its definitions states, it is the process of interaction and integration among people, companies, and governments worldwide. This is still true, even now. Globalization, together with the advances of technology, makes communication with others much easier and often essential. This is also impacting learning in ways we sometimes struggle to understand. And this is where the role of English as a second language becomes crucial. Learning English allows access to knowledge, but also to see the world in a different way, change our perspectives, see others with different eyes, become more conscious of who we are and where we're from. And the differences between ourselves and others disappear. The world becomes a better place when we share ideas, knowledge, and we collaborate with people from different cultures. As educators, our responsibility is that our students at school or universities can learn a second language, not only to improve their life standards, but also to challenge them to become better citizens for the 21st century. This is what we're going to talk about with our guests, who dedicate each day time to research, manage, collaborate, publish, and teach about bilingual education. Each of them contributes from their positions to make students able to actively participate in a challenging, globalized world. Scott?
Thank you, Marisol. Good morning, everybody. And my name is Scott. I work for the University of Edinburgh. I'm the Partnerships Manager for Latin America. So I just wanted to thank everybody for joining yesterday and today in the name of the University of Edinburgh. This is a very important area for us. We host the Centre Bilingualism Matters. Antonella, the director, spoke yesterday, so we're absolutely delighted to be involved in this initiative with the other organizing partners. As Marisol mentioned, in this world of globalization, the university's taken the decision to have an office actually here in Chile, to partner with other organizations in the region. So we're delighted to work with the partners on this, and hopefully many of you in the future. So we have a really great morning lined up. So we're going to kick off at, well, first of all at 9 o'clock with Viviana Miglino, who's the English head at Colegio Bayard in Buenos Aires. And Viviana will be talking about, her presentation is Walk the Teacher, Guide the Way, Milestones on Path to Leadership. Then at 10:20, we'll have a presentation by Mike Spooner, an expert in educational leadership and curriculum design. The title of his presentation is Experiences and Reflections on Different Models in Bilingual Education. And at 11:40, we will have a panel of experts composed of Maria Jose Galvez, who's the preschool coordinator at Santiago College, Carol Peak, English Coordinator at Colegio Monte Tabor, Marisol from Universidad del Desarrollo, and Viviana Miglino, Head of Primary, again, Colegio Bayard. So thank you very much again for joining. And I will pass you now to Jose Sepulveda, who's our first moderator this morning, and who will give a quick recap of yesterday. Thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you, Scott. As Scott said, hello, everybody. My name is Jose Sepulveda. I'm an academic coordinator and consultant at Cambridge University Press in Chile. Before we start, I would like to thank the more than 140 participants that we have today. Today is Saturday morning. It's early, I know. So congratulations to everyone for being here. And I'm pretty sure that you're not gonna regret it. Before we start, I would like to remind some basic rules. Today, I mean, you know, all the microphones are gonna be kept off. All the cameras of participants are gonna be off for the length of the sessions. Names, please, if you are not using your real name in this presentation, I strongly recommend that you change it. It's very easy. I mean, you just rename yourself or ask the administrators or the asistentes that appear there as asistentes to change the name for you, because otherwise you run the risk of being put in the waiting room, because we need to verify that all the participants are the ones that are supposed to be here. As Scott said, yesterday we had an amazing day, an amazing time with several talks on very interesting subjects that many of you witnessed, because I could recognize many of the names while you were coming into the room. We opened yesterday with a very interesting talk with many practical ideas on how to develop fluency on students and how to use different techniques to overcome teachers' and students' difficulties. Then we moved on to another very inspirational talk on bilingualism and its many benefits. And then we moved to another interesting talk on the successful implementation of a bilingual school in Chile. And we finally closed the day with a fantastic roundtable with 4 specialists. It was really fun, you know, yesterday. It was late, but it was very fun. The speaker I'm going to present, as Marisol already said before, she's going to give a talk on a practical experience on how to generate basically strong organizational culture that leads to successful pedagogical outcomes. Our speaker, she's the primary school English head at Bayard School in Buenos Aires, Argentina. She has graduated as a teacher of English from Instituto Superior del Profesorado, Dr. Joaquín González. She has taken further studies, postgraduate study courses in English language at Universidad Tecnológica Nacional. Her degree thesis led her to design a didactic tool to teach reading comprehension strategies. This tool has been presented at congresses in several countries like the US, in Argentina, Denmark, Finland, to name a few. I personally had the privilege to meet with our next speaker during the week, when she walked me through the highlights of what her presentation is going to be today. I can only tell you that just with that, I got really inspired. It gave me a real boost of energy, and it restarted the love for what I do as a teacher. So it's with special excitement that I'm pleased to welcome Viviana Miglino to our first conference on bilingual education. Viviana, the mic and the audience are all yours.
Good morning, everyone. A very rainy morning here in Argentina. I don't know what the weather is like over there, but here we are having a really hard time. It's very rainy, and I'm very happy to be with you today, to be able to share my presentation with you. For some reason, I can't see the presentation. That's why I'm getting a little bit nervous. I'm sharing screen, but I can't see it. Perhaps you can give me a hand.
If you want, I can present for you. I have your presentation here. I don't know.
Jose, I can read Jose Sepulveda, Cambridge University Press, but I can't see my presentation.
Okay, hold on.
I'm very sorry. There, can you see it now? Well, I can see it now.
Yes.
Oh, cool. Okay.
No, yes, we can see now.
You can see, I'm very sorry, but I was not able to see my presentation, so I couldn't start. All right. On behalf of Colegio Bayard, I would like to thank the Cambridge University Press and the organizing partners of this first conference on bilingual education in Chile for inviting us to share our experience in bilingualism at our school. Colegio Bayard is a school set in Palermo. Palermo is a place in the city of Buenos Aires, Argentina. It's a school that offers bilingual secular education for boys and girls from kindergarten through high school. It is a very prestigious institution that has been running for 64 years now. All right, as Jose has very kindly said, I thought about calling my presentation this way: walk with the teacher, guide the way, milestones on the path to leadership. I believe that, as Jose has just mentioned before, a very strong cultural bonding and at a school is key to establish a very good pedagogical proposal. And along this way, we're going to stop at 4 milestones that altogether make up a word, OSHAP. If you ask me what leadership means to me, I would say leadership is the power of OSHAP. And I can imagine some of you wondering, what is OSHAP? I mean, I have never heard of this word, and perhaps some of you are even tempted to Google it. Well, don't do it, because OSHAP is an acronym. You know, I'm a teacher, and I've been thinking about a way to create a memorable anchor for us to remember these 4 very important milestones that any good leader, any good head has to stop at, has to ponder on, has to pay a lot of attention to when walking along their teachers. I would like to start by reading a quote by Antonio Bolivar in the book Ser Director. He says, and all the translations are mine, "The influence on others cannot be because I command, but because I am capable of captivating, inducing, making people believe, committing them or implicating them in that direction." Inspired by this quote, we will go over some of these points. We will start by looking at the power of observation, and this is our first milestone on the way to leadership. And we will pay a lot of attention to the powers we need when teacher recruiting. We are going to pay attention to the power of sharing for teacher training, the power of appreciation for teacher empowerment, and the power of bonding for teacher retention. We will have a little conclusion, and then of course we will have our question and answer session. As you see, here you have the word OSHAP. OSHAP is made up of observation, sharing, appreciation, and bonding. The power of observation for teacher recruitment. Let me tell you a little anecdote. This will be a very practical session. I'm going to share experience with you. I was asked to prepare this from practice to theory. And I invite you to come with me back in time to July 2018. I had only been ahead for a couple of months at school at that time. I myself was not that acquainted with the school culture when I found my very first important challenge. I had to replace a 7th form language teacher at school. Believe me, that was a tough job because I don't know, I imagine you also have your winter break in July in Chile, but in Argentina, this is the mid of school year. And finding a qualified professional in the middle of the road, I mean, halfway through the school year is really a tough job. So I asked the human resources people at school to start looking for qualified people to interview. I paid a lot of attention to a lot of CVs, and one of them caught my attention. This was from a professional in a Latin American country who was very qualified and who had a very nice teaching career. So I summoned him for an interview. And when I arrived on that morning, as I arrived at school, there was this very young, elegant, very formal man who had arrived in time for the meeting. So we started talking and I told him, I am very interested in your curriculum. I think you are a very qualified teacher, but I don't know your university. I mean, you are not from Argentina, so I don't know anything about your house of studies. He said, well, this is the link to my study. And he told me a brief history of his university. After that, I said, I would like to get to know the courses you took. And he said he took out a sheet of paper from his binder, and he told me, well, this is the list of all the subjects I have taken, plus the marks I got as I graduated. I said, oh, that's cool. And he said, I have also brought 2 letters of recommendation, one from a teacher of mine in the course and another from a previous employee. Well, I must say that I was impressed at his proactivity, his power of anticipation, his discourse, because you know, discourse is not just the words we speak, everything is discourse, the way we dress, the amount of time with which we arrive at the place of the interview, the body language, the attitude, eye contact, all that is discourse. So here goes my first tip in this milestone. For heads, you have to exercise strong powers of observation when having an interview with a candidate. You have to pick qualified people because that will create a powerful team. Many times, oftentimes, because of other reasons, we end up choosing people who are not that qualified or who are not that passionate or who you say, I don't believe they share the culture of my institution. This is the time to make good choices. For the candidates, because I know there are many university students in my audience, the piece of advice is get ready for your interview. Recruitment is a very important stage in your professional career, and you have to create an impact. But at the same time, you have to be yourself because you will have to go there every day, day in, day out for quite some time. So you'd better get to know the school you want to apply for. Do you believe in their pedagogical project? Do you see eye to eye with the school? Do you believe in the culture? Do you like the place? Do you like the people? Pay attention to all this because this is the starting point. So the power of observation for teacher recruitment is key. Inés Aguerrondo, in the article she wrote that is called ¿Qué hacen las escuelas que innovan?, says, a strong institutional project selects people both in the public and private environment. The institutional atmosphere causes a selection by default to take place. The staff feels or does not feel part because the institution itself is in charge of imposing its vision. And in this instance, the head's job is of paramount importance. So, as I said, it's very important to pay attention to the culture, the institutional atmosphere, because apart from the salary that you get when you work, you have a lot of things that you have to pay attention to. So let me share with you my team. I said that this presentation is going to be a collaborative work because I want my people to speak to you. This will be very practical. So I invite you all to share some of my teachers' experience on that very first day.
It was a very fulfilling experience to have a mock interview presenting our portfolios to our head, which reflected our work carried out throughout the year.
I remember a very warm welcome when I first came to Bayard School for the job interview. It made me feel very comfortable right away. And all the staff members were super nice and super friendly, treating me as a very welcome guest rather than a stranger.
Well, as far as recruitment goes, I remember that I had all my interviews on the same day. So I was moving around from one office to the other. And on the way, I met different people. And they were all so nice and welcoming. I remember that they would greet me with the biggest smile on their face. And I felt super at home from the get-go. So that was very nice. And then I had my interview with my English head. And once again, the atmosphere was so passionate and joyful that it made me feel not only at ease, but also I felt eager to become a part of this school. And well, as you can see, I became a member of the Bayard team, and I was able to see that my first impression on the school and its atmosphere were right. It is a super nice environment to work in.
All right, I invite you to take a step forward. We have left the first milestone on our way to leadership, which was the power of observation for teacher recruitment. And now we will move on to the power of sharing for teacher training. There's a phrase by a pedagogue called Bernardo Blechmar in his book, Gestionar es hacer que las cosas sucedan, a word he coined that is co-opetition. I love that word because co-opetition, he says, is a mixture of cooperation and competition. And this is exactly the balance that you have in a healthy team. When teacher training, a good head should have strong powers of observation to see what the strengths and the weaknesses of his or her people are. In my case, I always say the same. I believe in public recognition, in positive public recognition of good practices, and in private training, in private conversation to improve on those practices, on those weaknesses that teachers have. At Bayard School, we follow Harvard Zero pedagogical practices, many of them. We work with multiple intelligences and different learning styles. We cater for the auditory, the visual, and the kinesthetic learning style. We apply pedagogy of play. We work with kids, and you know, play is the channel to work with kids. We work with thinking routines. We follow teaching for understanding and learning for understanding. We work with project and problem-based activities that start by a problem or a project that is significant, relevant, and meaningful to kids. And from the project or the problem, we move on to the curriculum. We believe in formative evaluation, so we make use of rubrics and portfolios. And in this particular context of the pandemic, we have had to train teachers a lot in the use of digital platforms and tools. So we realized, well, many of us don't know much about using the platforms and using the technical digital tools. And so we created a program for teachers in which we invited teachers who were successful at using some tools to teach their peers. We have special meetings. We have once a week we need to study theory on something that would help our teachers become stronger in a weak point they have. That is our Monday meeting. We also have form meetings once a week in which form teams get together to plan, to correct, to share views on kids who are struggling and who need extra help, to share previous experiences or successful things they have done with other kids to empower their peers. And we also have a project that is called Teacher in Movement, Teachers in Movement, which we love. By this project, teachers have to go and sit in on a colleague's class in another cycle. For example, a first form teacher is invited to go and sit in on a second cycle form. Why? Because, you know, first cycle in Argentina is from 6 to 8. Second cycle is from 9 to 12. Kids are very different in one cycle or the other. So by going and sitting in on another cycle class, they broaden the scope, the view of teaching. They learn other techniques, other strategies. And this observation ends up with a report the teacher shares with the class head and with me. So after that, the three of us get together and discuss what that class was like. We suggest things to be improved on, and these reports have a certain format. I always ask my team, don't just give me a narrative of the experience. The report should have 3 parts. The first part is the atmosphere in the class, how the outcomer, feels when they enter the classroom. The second part is what strategies have been successful. So I ask them to write a list of the successful practices that have brought about learning in that class. And the third part is suggestions for improvement. So the teacher who's sitting on the class, who's sitting in on that class, is sharing knowledge with her peer. Jose Weinstein says, the essential work of the school heads, the focus of their pedagogical leadership has to do with how they manage to make their teachers grow, how they manage to make them work better, both individually and collectively. This is one of our sessions in which we were training, we're being trained. Here is Luciana Santero, a 6th form teacher who was very well articulate with breakout rooms. So she was teaching her peers how to use it. The picture on the left has to do with one of our staff meetings. As you see, we have a very informal style. We have a quiet and warm atmosphere, and we share feelings and also knowledge and also queries, concerns, complaints. The picture on the right is about a course we took last year on design thinking, because this year we invited our teachers to plan according to design thinking. So collecting data and analyzing that data, creating an idea, prototyping that idea, and evaluating the results. So again, listen to what my teachers, my team, our team has to say about this. I'm sorry.
As regards teacher empowerment, I feel empowered whenever I am given the freedom that I feel at school right now. Whenever I feel trusted, when I feel that my ideas and my plans are taken into account, that are being listened to, when I feel free you know, free to plan, free to make suggestions, free to come up with ideas, and when I feel listened to.
Regarding teaching empowerment, I've been appointed as a third form lead teacher since I'm an experienced teacher.
By our recurrent trainings and enriching exchanges on our meets with the deputy head and the rest of the teachers, I feel I am constantly learning at this school, which makes me feel really empowered. Also, I feel empowered when I get together with my workmates, with my form mates, to plan. We do it virtually once a week, and even though it may be tiring to stay online for hours and agree on many things, I think it's highly worth it. We keep contributing, and each of us gets actively engaged.
I feel that my team and I have been given the possibility to make choices freely according to our own groups of kids. This has been so empowering, not only for us, but also for our kids. The fact of not being questioned by our coordinator, so that all of our kids did the same. We could select, create, and tailor-make activities and all the dynamics or things that we carried out in class without feeling any type of constraint. And that was super empowering. At the same time, when it came to report cards, for instance, we were given a chance to think of each of our own students' learning journey and to express or to talk about them in a different way and to address families, not in the same way as our teachers. And that was very rewarding for all of us teachers.
When talking about empowerment, we have to think about leadership in a way that it is distributed. Antonio Bolívar, in his article El liderazgo pedagógico del director, says, distributed or shared leadership. The head's leadership should be diluted so that it brings about the multiple leadership of the school's members and groups. Once I spot a teacher that is very articulate in a certain skill or that has developed a good project that is worth sharing, what I do is I invite her or him to share this with the team and to discuss whatever they have learned in the group. This brings about, of course, an enormous empowerment, and positive recognition creates a kind of synergy that makes the group come up with more and better projects. There are some projects I am very proud of at our school I would like to share with you. We have our debate clubs in fifth form. In this project, what kids do, and they are only 10-year-olds, is they take a stand on a topic of their choice. For example, homework. They start investigating this project, they take their stand, they create their presentation, and in the event, when we invite all the families to listen to them, they say they say their motion, and people have to vote for the motion that they consider has convinced them. We have a ballot box and the balloting box, and people vote for it. And of course, we follow the results of the election. I remember last year, one of our kids talking about homework and being against homework said this phrase that I will never forget. He said, "We are here from 8 to 4, 8 hours at school. If 8 hours is not enough to learn, teachers are doing something wrong." And he was really right. We also have another project I'm proud of, which is called the Book Week. In this week, we pay attention to reading, and we invite family members, relatives, to come and read for our kids. We have the TED clubs in 7th form, where kids have to pick and choose a topic of their interest, and they investigate, they carry out research, but they present it to the audience with the support of a PowerPoint presentation. We pay a lot of attention to body language, to voice, to all these nuances that you give to your message when you present it. And you would be very, very surprised to see how 11 and 12-year-olds can convince an audience of their intelligent point of view. We also have a Shakespeare play at the end of sixth form, where kids act, of course. It's a play that they have written based on a Shakespearean play, but tailor-made to their own roles, to their own personalities, to their own voices. And of course, they dress up, and this is a very nice school event. Okay, these are some of the projects that I am very proud of. But of course, all these projects bring about a lot of pride. Teamwork works, and this is something that is a play on word, but of course, when we work together as a team, we can create amazing things. Now, I wanted to pay attention to what my teachers have to say about the projects they are very interested and proud of.
And a proposal that we have planned for a class in which our students are faced with a project or problem that creates the need for the language in the curriculum, we have implemented a system in which the students reflect on their performance throughout the project and assign a color to it: red, yellow, and green, simulating the traffic lights for what they have already assimilated with green, to the things that they still have to work on with red.
We read a story, Amelia Bedelia, and after some reflection time, we decided to do something to be cooperative during harsh times in quarantine.
In 2018 and 2019, I worked on children's rights with my third form students, and we ran a campaign together to help kids from vulnerable backgrounds. So in 2018, I focused on Article 31 from the Convention on the Rights of the Child, because it's about play. So first, students got to know about a group of kids who go to a soup kitchen in Pilar, Buenos Aires, and then they thought of how they could solve that problem. So they came up with the idea of running a campaign at school. They named the campaign Help the Kids after voting, and they went to different courses to ask for help to collect toys and games for these kids. Then they chose the toys and games for every single kid from the soup kitchen. They wrote a card for each of them, they wrapped the presents, and finally they sent them.
I would like to share with you a proposal, a unit that me and my students worked on this year. Back in June, we started working on a unit about planned and perceived obsolescence and consumerism. And when I first started planning this unit, I included the language and vocabulary that I wanted to teach. And I included talking about the future for predictions as one of the functions that I wanted to teach. But then when we were working on the plan, when we were working on the activities, the children started talking about the things they think will happen if we don't change our consumption habits.
In my role as an ICT facilitator, one of my duties is to run the project called C2C. That means communicate to coexist. Well, this project entails team working with teachers throughout primary and generating connections with experts or teachers or even classrooms from different parts of the world. So basically the idea is to use technology as a springboard to generate meaningful, memorable, and engaging experiences where teachers and students get to scaffold knowledge and share a unique moment of exchange beyond the classroom walls.
Of course, this project C2C will take some minutes of my presentation because it's one of the projects we are most proud of and which has brought about a lot of satisfaction to the team. We have a special room at school that is called Peeping into the World room. This room has no desks, no chairs, it's just a vacuum room. In fact, it's the one where we were meeting in the picture that you saw me and my team. In this classroom, we make connections with experts and kids in other parts of the world because we strongly believe our kids are global citizens and they should use the second language to talk, to get to know, to learn about, to appreciate other cultures in other parts of the world. So we make a lot of work to contact teachers in other parts of the world, and we have our kids talk with these kids and use the language in a meaningful, relevant, and significant way. We also use it in Spanish because many times our kids would like to get to know kids, for example, in other provinces that are too far away to go physically. So in this room, Peeping into the World room, the classroom has no walls. They go into the world thanks to technology and they interact with other people either in their first or the second language, as I said, in meaningful, relevant and significant contexts. So we have stopped at 3 milestones so far. We have stopped at the milestone of teacher recruitment, where we need to exercise the powers of observation. We have stopped at the second milestone of teacher training, where we have to exercise the powers of sharing. We have then stopped at the milestone of teacher empowerment, where we have to use the powers of observation and appreciation and positive recognition. And we are about to come to our last milestone on this way to leadership, and this is the power of bonding. And this has to do with teacher retention. You know, we believe that a strong institutional culture calls for people who feel they belong. Of course, we all work for a living and we all need a salary, but that is not the only thing we need when we go to work. The power of bonding, our last milestone on the path to leadership, is a very strong one. And here again, the role of the head is very, very of crucial importance. I like this quote by Andrés Hatum in the article he wrote, Gestión del Talento en Organizaciones Innovadoras. He says, people are not just employees who go to work. They are human beings who go to work. People who have problems at home, people who are alone, people who undergo different circumstances. And of course, in this milestone, I invite you to think of yourself and the place where you work and how well it feels when somebody comes and asks you when you're ill, for example, when you have been ill, have you recovered? How do you feel now? Many of my teachers are mothers, and sometimes they tell me, Viv, I can't come to work because my kid is running a fever. And so it takes a committed head to give a ring in the afternoon or to send them a WhatsApp to say, how is your kid getting along? Or for example, when in my staff meetings, I see that somebody is kind of serious or down, again, privately after the meeting, I give them a ring, or I say, hey, I could tell that you were kind of down or serious in the meter. Is there anything going on? Is there anything I can do for you? Of course, this differs in different parts of the world because levels of detachment and closeness are different in different cultures. But in Argentina, we are very close to to one another. We are Latin descendants. And so this is something that creates a strong bond between head and staff. And this, in the long run, translates as better practices, and better practices in the long run create better learning. This is my team, part of it. This is last year in December. We have at school a cocktail party where we sort of look back on all the work we've done during the year, on the projects we've carried, and we give rewards to those outstanding projects that are really worth mentioning. We have fun, we celebrate, we dance, we sing karaoke, and this is a very strong element in bonding as well. You know, I would like to come to the end of my presentation, sharing with you something, a very personal experience with my team this year. As you know, as all of us have experienced this year, all of a sudden, we found ourselves in lockdown. We left school on a Friday in Argentina on March the 13th. And we couldn't go back to school because on that very weekend, quarantine was set in our country. And so after that, teachers had to do an enormous job of adapting to the virtual scenario, of getting trained and training in different didactic and digital tools, of using these medium, which is not the one we are used to. We made many mistakes on the go because at the beginning we thought that teaching virtually was a transfer, a practical transfer from in-person to remote learning. And so we tried replicating what we did at school. And that was a big mistake because it is a completely different thing. And so we had to follow a trial and error process, which was very hard. We had to work long hours, as I imagine all of you have. And we have to adapt and adjust and tailor-make our proposal, paying attention not only to the pedagogical aspect, but mostly and firstly to the emotional aspect of learning. And so we had to think of ways to catch our students because many of them wouldn't want to come to class. They didn't like the virtual scenario. We had to become actresses and singers. We thought about bringing surprise and unknown mystery guests to the classroom so that kids would be eager to know who was there. So making use of our C2C project, we brought teachers they had met in the past or previous teachers they had and who are not at school now, that have moved somewhere else. We have a teacher in Peru now. So we had these mystery guests, we had these cooking classes online, we had teachers dressed up and dancing and doing whatever was at hand to reach the kids. So the day before Labor Day, this is May the 1st, I was at home thinking of all this I'm sharing with you, and I felt that I wanted to write this piece of text I'm going to share with you with my teachers. As I am a teacher, this last slide will be like a lesson at school on the whiteboard. So March the 13th, just another TGIF in our lives. Sube y baja, goodbye to the late leavers, kisses blown in the air and goodbye wavings. See you on Monday, unfulfilled promise. I didn't expect what was in store, nobody could. I haven't seen you yet. Not the way I wish I could, at least. But I have seen you. I have seen you pluck up courage and put your hands on everything I've asked you to do, although none of us knew for sure how to do so. I've seen you fail, try again, and succeed, and all this undergoing quarantine yourself. I've seen you dress up, disguise, sing and dance. I've seen you cook and laugh. I've also seen you cry. I've seen the always resourceful teacher in you, the sensible and sensitive professional who would rack their brains in search of that video or that platform that would suit your students' needs. I've seen you smile in silence, waiting for a couple of words from that faraway student in your virtual class. I felt your concern for the absent one. I've enjoyed reading your plans. I've been a witness to your hard work. I've seen you grow. Tomorrow is your day. Cheers to you, dear teacher. I'm proud to be your head. Let's celebrate being team. Don't ever forget, I love you. So the power of observation for teacher recruitment, the power of sharing for teacher training, the power of appreciation for teacher empowerment, the power of bonding for teacher retention. Thank you for listening. Thank you all for listening. And special thanks to some people in my team, the whole primary English staff team, Belén Albarracín, our ICT facilitator and 7th form teacher, Catalina de Forteza, who is our image and communication head, and Natalia Ambrosiano, our drama specialist. I hope you have enjoyed my presentation.
Okay, wow. Who's inspired? Thank you very much, Viviana. It was an amazing presentation, amazing experience, and this inspiration definitely was felt by many of the audience here, because I have tons of questions. So we can either tell the next presenter that we're going to be late, so we move everything for a little late, or I will need to choose some of the questions to share them here. But worry not, because those questions that we cannot answer will definitely be answered during the week. I mean, there are some announcements coming up that will tell you about that, because in many of the sessions we have had so many questions that because of time constraints, we cannot answer all of them, but we will eventually. So Viviana, ready to answer some questions?
Go ahead.
All right. We have here one by Tom Connolly. He says, is the institution more important than the people who work there in terms of who or what is in control?
I'm sorry, I couldn't get the last parts.
Sorry, it says, is the institution more important than the people who work there in terms of who or what is in control?
I find it hard to tell institution and people apart, because I believe that people and students create the institution. I mean, I don't know how you can tell them apart, because an institution is a living organism. I mean, it's something that is alive. It has a personality, it has a culture, it has objectives, it has likes and dislikes. And this is what, I mean, is the sum of all the people that make it. And that's why I believe that it's so important, as I said in the first milestone, to get to know the culture of the institution you want to join, to see if you really fit. Because you may be an excellent professional who doesn't fit in that institution. So I believe that the institution has a culture, but the people who are there make the institution. So I really find it hard to tell these two apart.
Thank you. Very good. We have a question from Ana Paula Camilla. She asks, how does the school plan the topics they will tackle on the remote learning?
Oh, that's a good question. The word for remote learning is flexibility. And this is something we have learned again on the go. Nobody could have ever trained us for this. I mean, this has been a trial and error process. I mean, and I'm not ashamed to say we have made many mistakes, but mistake is part of learning. So I think the word is flexibility. Of course, we have our syllabus. If the answer points at the academical part of it, of course we have our syllabus, but we bring the kids' emotions and well-being first. And that is always related to fun and games and feeling well. So we adapt, we tailor-make all our activities to go through those channels to reach the most important academic aspects in the syllabus.
Thank you. Good. I have a question here from Ana Paula Camellas. Yes, Ana Paula Camellas. Well, she says, how do they work interdisciplinarity?
Oh, that's a very good one. We work, as I said, with projects. So this is very practical, so I'm going to give you an example. Last year, we had a project on comics, on the writing of comics.
Okay.
So kids, because this was a project-based learning, but also learning for understanding, kids took different subjects as the way to learn something to apply in that project. So for example, with their biology teacher, they learned how papers work, and with the language teacher, they learned how to write the script and the text in the bubbles of comics. With their art teacher, they did the drawings. And then in this project about helping kids in other parts of the country, what we did was when we finished the comics book, we sent this as a present to a school in a vulnerable part of Buenos Aires. So interdisciplinary means kids have this project in mind, and each teacher from their own area of expertise helps them develop the project.
Good. And in the same line from Pilar, how does school leadership reach or integrate parents, families, or the school community altogether?
Well, this is another nice one. We, as I say, now in this virtual context, we believe that learning is done in 3 pillars. It is the student, of course, first and foremost, the school, and families. And we keep constant communication with parents. I mean, our offices are open. My office is open. And this is, again, discourse. I mean, people can reach me. They can, of course, make appointments to come and talk. But we also talk to them not only when kids are having problems. We are used to calling families also to share the good news, because there is this, I don't know why, this habit of calling the family whenever there's a problem. And we say, this is wrong. I mean, we should also involve the family in celebration when we see that kids are progressing and have done something nice. So our families are not afraid of our calls.
Calls, good. Okay, since you opened the door to your the intimacy of your team, many people want to know a little bit more about that. Lia Mara Nascimento, she asks, she'd like to know if all these teachers teach by using English as a language of instruction, and if they speak English in their meetings or Spanish, and what you think about speaking English even in teachers' meetings.
Yeah, oh, I like that question very much. You know, kids have the fantasy at school that I don't speak Spanish, because when we don't speak Spanish at all, neither to kids nor among ourselves nor in our staff meetings. We speak English. We are teachers of English. And this is so natural at school that sometimes when kids approach you, they talk to one teacher in Spanish and to another teacher in English, just because there's a lot of incidental teaching outside the classroom that we are giving kids precisely because we speak the second language all along. I have this nice phrase, funny phrase they love. When they come and talk to me in Spanish, I answer, "Mi no hablo español with usted." So they have a lot of fun because I imitate British speakers speaking Spanish. And well, it's a game. We believe in the power of games and play. It's a game, and so it's natural. But we only and exclusively speak the second language among ourselves. Even when we chat, even when we write WhatsApps, it's a natural way. Otherwise, it would be very difficult. I mean, I keep thinking, because it's a very good question. It would be very difficult where to draw the line. Understand? Where do I speak Spanish to you? Where do I speak English? So it's English all along.
Yeah, because it's not acting, basically. It's what you are.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. You are not in character when you speak English.
And you know what? Besides, as I always say, our kids have the only scenario where they can learn English alive is at school, because, well, of course they have TV and films, but when they leave school, when they go into the streets, they only listen to Spanish. So we have to make the best of every single opportunity we have to give them input in the second language.
Absolutely, absolutely. And sadly, we have time just for the last question. We went over a little. I mean, I was authorized to go 5 minutes over the time, and with this last question, and with this one, sorry, we need to finish. I mean, questions keep coming in. Sorry, we are not going to be able to answer them now, but we will. This is another question regarding your team, and actually several questions in one. It's Catherine Toro. She says, how many hours a week do your teachers work, including teaching hours plus planning, administrative time? Isn't it time consuming to meet twice a week apart from their own level team meetings? Do they find it appropriate? Do they have enough hours to prepare everything, or they have to use their personal and family time? Oh, you have 3 minutes to answer that. Sorry.
I'll try and make it short and sweet. Students are 4 hours a day, 5 days a week at school, and so that's 20 hours a week. But they have one afternoon where our kids have physical education. So that afternoon is kind of free. I mean, they are vacant and they don't have kids to teach. So they can work in these form meetings. That is the day for form meetings, the day when kids are with their physical education teachers. You have a point there. We are a very, how can I put it, intense school. We are very passionate people, and yes, we take a lot of our personal time as well. I have to be honest. I mean, but I think this is the same everywhere. I mean, planning and correcting many times takes place at home. But when I say we have those staff meetings, so in such an intense way, I am focusing on this remote learning scenario in which we needed to meet, we needed to discuss, because nobody knew very well how to go about it.
Sure.
So,
okay. Well, thank you very much, Viviana. It was a great presentation. From the comments, from the questions, I can tell that I'm not alone on this feeling. I appreciate your time. I appreciate your experience, your passion for what you do. Thank you very much. It's certainly been something to ponder on. And since we have you in the panel at the end of this session today, probably some of the questions that we have here, you may be answering there. So let's see how it goes. So thank you very much, Viviana, and thank you all the audience to be here, to remain here. I remind you that we have another session after this one. Remember that it's in another link. We're going to have a conference on experiences and reflections on different models in bilingual education by Mike Spooner. So thank you all. Thank you for being with us. Thank you for your patience. Thank you for your questions, and thank you for your passion. Viviana, thank you very much. Have a great day. Thank you.
Same here.